to be here today. I'm Alden Mills, and my sleep number setting is 50. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Dustin, for helping me figure that out. You know, why I'm so fired up to be here today and why I love that song so much is that song is all about having the best day of your life. The best day of your life. You ever thought about how to have the best day of your life? You see, to have the best day of your life, you have to be your best. You have to do your best. How do you do it? How do you do it when you see a commercial, which is outstanding by Kevin, of all these incoming things coming at you? All this great technology that's out there. You know what? There's no fancy formula. It's a very simple thing. You got to focus on three things. The three things that you can control. You can't control the weather. You can't control what Wall Street says, that's for sure. You can't control your customers, and the parents out there, I can't control my kids, so you know that drill. No, it's three things. You see, these three things, when you learn how to control them, sky's the limit, sleep number. You can do anything you want. You're doing it. There are dreams, there's actions, and there's attitude. Now, when I talk about dreams, I'm talking about just the kind of dreaming Shelley was talking about. When she signs off every day, sleep well, dream big, she's saying, hey, what if? What if I could do this? Now dreams, and the dreams I'm talking about are answering that question, what if, and thinking about it every day when you see something. When you say, why not? Why can't we try that? That's the kind of dreams that I talk about. When I say actions, actions are what you do to make those dreams come true. You see, at the end of the day, we only have a couple of God-given talents. One of them is our body, and if we're lucky enough to move our arms and our legs, control how we talk, decide what comes in our ears, what goes in our mouth, that's it, folks. That's the action I'm talking about. Then you got attitude. You see, the attitude, you can be a cheerleader, you can have a great positive attitude, you can have a quiet confidence attitude, but regardless, the attitude you need to have, because when you're dreaming, you're going to be dealing with change. And the attitude you need to have is the one of, bring it on. I don't care how many times I fail. I'll find success in my failure. That's what I talk about when I say dreams, action, and attitude. And so I'll tell this to my fifth grader when I'm saying, hey, look, so what if you got an F? Not a big deal. Just remember these three things. Well, how am I going to remember that, Dad? This is growing up in the military. I love acronyms, right? I'm going to give you a really simple acronym. DAA, dreams, actions, attitude. Duh, Dad. Duh. You know, I want you to walk away, and if there's nothing else you remember about talking with me today besides the song, DAA, dreams, actions, and attitude. So let's dive into dreams for a minute. What are they, and why are they so important? Well, what dreams are dreaming without limitation. You've got so many different limits that we get pressed upon us throughout our lifetime. You have to be able to break the batteries down. Break the barriers down to go out there and push the envelope because the world's changing. And it's changing right before our eyes. It's getting faster and faster. And the way we're going to do it is by everybody in this room. It can't just be Shelley. It can't just be Kevin. We need dreamers sitting in the warehouse. We need dreamers doing promotion, dreamers doing sales, dreamers coming up with new product. That's what dreaming's all about. And why dream's so important? Because that's what this country was founded on. That's what the great companies do again and again and again. This company is great, and it's going to continue to be great because you got great leaders here, but they can only do it as much as you dream. Now, here's the problem with dreams. What you have to watch out for with dreams, and that's limits. Now, the first time I truly remember having a limit pressed on me, I was 12. I was born with a bad set of lungs. I had pneumonia about a dozen times by the time I was 12. We lived in a small town in Massachusetts, and my mom looked all over the place to find this pulmonary specialist. I got there, met this guy. He put me through a bunch of tests, blown into a tube, trying to move a little ping pong ball up between some lines, which I was terrible at. Did a couple of more of these things. I could tell it wasn't going well. And he sat us down, and my mom was there, and she sat next to me, and she could tell I wasn't very much into it. Posture was leaning forward. And he said, Mrs. Mills, your son has asthma. He needs to lead a less active lifestyle. He needs to learn the game of chess. Oh! I started to cry right there on the spot. My mom looked at me, Alden, go sit in the waiting room. I went over, I sat down in the waiting room. Now I was really crying. A couple minutes later, she came back out, and she took these nails. I swear she sharpened these nails. She sharpened these nails for lots of occasions, and this one, they were sharp. She came in and she dug them into my arm. And she said two things. First, well, that's the last time we're going to that doctor. But the second thing she said, and she bore right into me, and she said, don't ever let anybody tell you what you can or can't do. If that's what you want to go do, you figure it out. I was still crying because I was still trying to process chess. But I never forgot that. And she kept telling that to me. And if she hadn't, and I had accepted that limit, well, then I wouldn't have gone on to play sport. I most likely wouldn't have gone on to try out to become a Navy SEAL. I wouldn't have gone on to start a business, write a book, stand in front of you today. You see, at the end of the day, limits are going to show up, folks. They're going to show up again and again. And most of the time they're going to show up, it's because you're in the arena and the people sitting on the sidelines want to tell you what you can and can't do. Not at Sleep Number. We with me on that? That's not going to happen. People like Shelly and Kevin are going to remind you every day, come on, dream with me. How cool is that? Do you know how blessed you are that you've got leadership that wants you to dream? That's awesome. That's a clap. Now, dreams are great. It's like the fire triangle, right? We need three things to start fire: spark, fuel, oxygen. Dreams are the spark. Now we need the fuel and the oxygen. And so few dreams get made into reality because people don't have enough of the fuel to make it happen. And the fuel I'm talking about are actions. You see, in SEAL Team, they figure that out. They're pretty savvy in that department. They spend over 20 weeks before they put a weapon in your hand to tell you about how the body obeys the brain, about how your weapons platform is your body, how you have to learn to control your brain and your body. That is the swim buddy. In SEAL Team, you can't do anything without somebody else. You've got to have a swim buddy. And that's what actions are all about. That's what you have to decide. Hey, am I going to get up out of my Sleep Number bed, which can be hard, having spent some time in that already. But when you get out of that bed, you got to decide, I'm coming to work. And we're going to take on something I'm really scared about. It's innovation. Innovation means change. And change is going to happen again and again and again. So you got to decide, am I going to stand up, punch it in the face, bring it on, and say, I'm going to learn from it, I'm going to make it better. That's what they do in SEAL Team, and the way it first started, and I'll never forget this, because I was the class leader of a winter Hell Week, and it was in December, and we're standing there, and we had just started. Now, Hell Week is arguably considered the most arduous week of training in the world. It starts on a Sunday, and it goes to a Friday. And you have approximately 3 to 3.5 hours of sleep that entire time. The rest of the time, they have round-the-clock instructors. 8-hour shifts, fresh instructors coming at you again and again. They're trying to weed you out. And so there we are. Hell Week has just started. Ensign Mills and his merry band of 33 brothers are standing on the beach. We'd started with 120, and we're only the 6th week. And I had this instructor from Boston. We'll call him Instructor Logan. Ensign Mills, you go get in that California water and warm up for a little while. Sing some songs for me, will you? So we walk out, we lock arms, we sit down, and we start singing the only song we knew, She's a Grand Old Flag. Still a song I sing. And we're sitting in the surf zone, and he goes, I got 181 pop flares here. It takes 54 seconds for one of these things to burn off. I'm going to fire one after the other, until I got my first quitter. Does that sound good? Okay. They're twisted like that. Now, he didn't really have 181, but he had a lot of crates of these pop flares. And so about 12, 13 pop flares into it, you could hear him. He goes, hey, Doc, why don't you come out of the ambulance? There's a big four-wheel drive ambulance parked right on the beach. It's way late at night. It's raining. It's about 45 degrees. I know that's not cold for you guys. But that was cold for us when we were in the California water, which was 58 degrees. Doc comes out, and he's got his Gore-Tex on. He gets a megaphone. He goes, gentlemen, he goes, yeah, Doc, tell him about hypothermia. Gentlemen, clinical hypothermia is a 2-degree drop in body core temperature from 98.6 to 96.6. And Doc, what happens when people get hypothermia? Well, technically, the blood rushes out of the brain and the extremities goes into the core, and shortly thereafter, they'll pass out and die. Oh, thank you, Doc. You can go back in the ambulance now. I'm not kidding you. Within 10 seconds of him saying, you get convulsion, you start to convulse, you start not being able to talk, like all of a sudden, she's grand old flag turned into and guys started shaking. And it worked its magic. Instructor Logan had his first quitter. There were a lot more after that. We finished Hell Week with 18. But we ran into that first quitter at the end of Hell Week. And I go, why'd you do it? You were in medical. You knew what that guy was going to say. And he said, you know, when I just heard the expert tell me I couldn't do it and that I was going to die, it wasn't for me. And I was like, well, what do you mean if you were going to die? You're not going to die. I mean, you know what? If you start SEAL training with the attitude that, well, if they can kill me, I'm not going to stay here, you got to be willing to die to get through this. But more importantly, he accepted somebody else's limitations and he took immediate action and he left. He gave up. Now you replace Instructor Logan and place the doctor. Let's call Instructor Logan Wall Street. Let's call the doctor an analyst. Huh? Sound similar? It amazes me the people in the arena who like to sit on the sidelines and bet against you. I can't believe there's a business for that. It amazes me the people that tell you can't do something because they don't have the courage to go out and innovate and try new things, to fail and get up and do it again. Actions, they have a swim buddy. It's called attitude. You see, actions are only as good as the mindset you have of getting up every day and trying again and again. And the attitude is that swim buddy. That attitude is going to tell you to roll your shoulders back, get into posture, and say, okay, I failed. That attitude is going to take the mindset of, that failure is great. I just learned another way not to do something. That is a very important mindset. If you ever have problems with attitude, by the way, I call it my 3 Ps. It's posture, push-ups, and a whole bunch of perspective. Keep perspective on what you're doing. Realize that just because you didn't make it today, you've come a long way. You see, when you link these 3 things together, dreams, actions, and attitude, guess what happens? You change the world. Henry Ford had it right when he said, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. That sleep number, always think you can. Shelley does. Kevin does. Ann does. Tricia does. All of you need to. All the time. Because this is a great company. And the way it's going to become even greater is everybody's given permission to dream. She stands here and tells you that. That's what it's all about. That's what makes life exciting. Living your dreams. Does that fire you up? That fires me up. So I tell my kids every day, and I'll tell you the same thing. We have but two limitations in this life. Our ability to dream and our ability to pursue them. Sleep number, sleep well, and go change the world.